Good afternoon, this is Mr. Rodriguez. We had an introduction tutorial. We reviewed the MLA formatting where we have the student's name, professor's name, course name, and then the date. We opened up our introduction with a hook, connecting background information, a thesis statement, succeeded by 2 supporting arguments to guide our conversation in the form of an essay. We're going to look at one body paragraph, advocating for change. Now, I do have the criterion for this. And so for body paragraphs, I provide students a checkoff list. We're going to have the topic sentence, cited relevant supporting evidence, provide analysis of that evidence, why it matters to the thesis statement. And then sometimes there's a need for a transition sentence to move from one part of the conversation to the next part of the conversation. It's not always required, but sometimes it just seamlessly makes its way fluidly through the essay and makes the conversation more comprehensible, natural, organic, etc. So let's see, let's go into this argument. So since this student mentioned advocating change first, that should be the chronological order. Let's first address the advocating for change. Even though it may seem like our words are insignificant, we can actually have a greater impact on our world than we think we can. For instance, in 1961, when John F. Kennedy took office during the midst of the Cold War, he wrote the inaugural address, which was not only addressed to Americans, but to people all over the world as well. His speech not only instilled confidence and comfort in American citizens, but also displayed respect abroad in foreign lands. In his speech, he urges his fellow Americans to ask not what your country can do for you, but what together we can do for the freedom of man. This positive perspective served as encouragement to millions of people to protect our unalienable human rights, right to freedom, by empowering the audience. So just a quick review. This, even though it may seem insignificant, so this is an opening that's going to function as a topic sentence. Now we have our first piece of cited evidence. We have a little bit of background information right here. So we'll say, here's some background, functions as background information, segueing into the cited evidence, and where we really start to say, okay, let's take a piece of that speech. So there's some cited evidence right there, and I'll highlight that in a fuchsia. And then here's the analysis of that cited evidence, why it matters. Why does it matter? Why did I bring this up, and how does this support the thesis statement, right? So this cited evidence and then the analysis of the evidence go back to supporting this yellow highlighted thesis statement, which is one person can defend the human rights of all people. Now let's take a look at the checklist. So our checklist is going to ask if we have these elements, and we have something that functions as a topic sentence. We have relevant supporting evidence that's cited. It provides an analysis of this evidence and somewhat transitions or segues. Now this could be at the teacher's discretion. If the conversation is naturally flowing, then I guess you could say it maybe didn't need that transition sentence. And like I said, sometimes we don't need to provide one, although it can be helpful if we just provide one at all times. So here's another set of grades that you can provide your kids. I know that most schools, most sites, unified school districts, charter schools, they require their educators to put a certain minimum of grades per week. So this will be extremely helpful for teachers when they have one essay, but yeah, you can give way more than 1 grade for 1 essay because there's a super abundance of skills being exhibited in this writing task. And let's go back to our, now I can say right here, if I did want to give some actionable feedback to this student, I could say, you cited 1 bit of evidence, perhaps providing an additional cited evidence with an analysis of that evidence would develop your argument, would provide a more fuller argument, a more well-developed argument. So I could justifiably lower the grade and tell this student that it's an underdeveloped argument or underdeveloped body paragraph. And then this would be maybe a learning goal to have. You know, sometimes we look at the strengths of a student and the needs of a student. This might be a need. And we could say specifically, this student can use development in their body paragraph. So just more actionable feedback. I hope this tutorial was helpful for you, and join me for the next tutorial on the counter argument.